Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. And this time we're going to try to connect some really interesting dots between Tesla's work, the ancient practice of alchemy, and some pretty mind-bending ideas about the nature of the soul.
Wow.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty out there, I think. But we've got some really interesting source material for this one. Insights from Dan Winter, who is an expert in sacred geometry and biophysics, and Jay Widener, who dives deep into esoteric traditions and ancient mysteries.
That sounds like a fascinating combination, bridging the gap between cutting-edge science and some of these ancient wisdom traditions.
Right. And so to kick things off, I think the first question we need to ask is Tesla, he was a brilliant inventor, right? But did he maybe make some critical errors that might have held him back from really understanding wireless power? And maybe even more intriguing, could those mistakes have impacted our understanding of consciousness itself?
Well, Dan Winter makes a pretty compelling argument about this, suggesting that Tesla's choice of 60 hertz for power distribution instead of 50 hertz might have had some unintended consequences.
Wait, so you mean the frequency of the electricity that's running through our homes could actually be affecting our health?
Potentially, yeah. While 50 hertz has been linked to a lot of positive effects, even like medical treatments, 60 hertz seems to have, there's research that points to negative effects on the cardiovascular system.
That's a huge deal. So what's the reasoning behind 50 hertz being, beneficial?
Well, many medical journals highlight the potential of 50 hertz, in aiding in things like healing, even cancer treatment, and it seems to resonate more harmoniously with the human body.
Wow. Okay, so that's one mistake that Winter points out. What's the other?
So Winter also believes that Tesla didn't fully grasp the concept of longitudinal nodes in wireless power transmission, and that this might have led to some unexpected and potentially dangerous results.
Okay, I think we need a bit of a breakdown here. What are longitudinal nodes?
So imagine you're trying to transmit a concentrated beam of energy across a distance. There are specific points along that beam where the energy is most concentrated, and those are the longitudinal nodes. And if you don't really understand how they work, you risk creating kind of unintended side effects.
So instead of lighting up a light bulb wirelessly, Tesla might have accidentally caused an earthquake.
Exactly. Winter links this to Tesla's work on beam weapons, which involve those similar principles of energy concentration and transmission.
Wow. Okay, so that's a lot to consider, right? We've got this brilliant inventor, but he's making some pretty big missteps, it seems, and the implications those missteps could have are really significant. But let's shift gears for a second to alchemy. How does that fit into all of this?
Well, this is where Jay Widener's expertise really shines. He points to this intriguing connection between a really rare type of meteorite called Lucifer's Eye and the legendary philosopher's stone, and even the Kaaba stone in Mecca.
Hold on. Are you saying that the black cube that Muslims circled during the Hajj is somehow connected to a meteorite and this mythical philosopher's stone?
Well, it's a fascinating theory, right? Widener suggests that all of these objects might actually share a common origin and function, and they're linked by this concept called non-destructive charge implosion.
All right, you've definitely piqued my interest here. What is non-destructive charge implosion?
It's something in both Winter and Widener discuss, and it's basically about harnessing incredibly concentrated energy, but in a way that doesn't destroy the matter involved. So imagine an implosion of energy, so powerful it transforms matter at its core, but without causing damage.
Okay, that's some next level physics right there. And how does the philosopher's stone fit into this?
So the philosopher's stone, according to this theory, is thought to be composed of these gold vapor nanobubbles suspended in molten glass. And this unique structure might actually hold the key to understanding how non-destructive charge implosion actually works.
So the philosopher's stone isn't just about turning lead into gold, but something much deeper.
Exactly. Winter and Widener suggest that it could have properties related to consciousness and even longevity, but the exact nature of those properties is still shrouded in mystery.
All right, so we've got Tesla's quest for wireless power, this ancient idea of the philosopher's stone, and now we're talking about consciousness and longevity. Things are getting pretty mind-bending here. But I'm curious, how do these seemingly disparate concepts actually connect?
Well, that's where things get even more interesting. Remember the Lucifer's Eye meteorite and the Kaaba stone? Widener proposes that all three objects, the meteorite, the stone, and the philosopher's stone, might be composed of similar materials, or possess similar energetic properties, possibly because of their connection to this phenomenon of non-destructive charge implosion.
So there's this potential thread running through all of these seemingly unrelated objects and concepts, this thread of energy manipulation and transformation at like a fundamental level. This is fascinating stuff, but I'm also hearing like a note of caution here. What about the potential dangers of these really powerful forces?
Yeah, that's a really crucial point. Both Winter and Widener emphasize how important it is to approach these ideas with a lot of respect and careful consideration. Mishandling these powerful forces could have some really unintended consequences.
It's like the old saying, with great power comes great responsibility, right? But before we delve into those potential dangers, let's shift our focus for a second to Dan Winter's work on the physics of soul. What exactly does he mean by that?
So Winter believes that the soul, or consciousness, is really intimately connected to the electromagnetic radiation that's emitted by the human body. It's this fascinating idea that our bodies are like antennas, constantly broadcasting our consciousness out into the world.
So our consciousness isn't just contained within our brains, but it's actually expressed through our entire electromagnetic field. What does that even look like?
Think of it like a perfectly tuned instrument. When all the parts are vibrating in harmony, it creates this beautiful resonant sound. Winter suggests that a similar principle applies to the human body. So when our electromagnetic field is coherent, it generates a specific kind of radiation that he believes is the essence of the soul.
So are you saying that like the more in tune our electromagnetic field is, the stronger our soul or consciousness?
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Winter believes that this coherence is actually essential for our overall well-being, both physically and spiritually, and it's also a key factor in his research on lucid dreaming and the potential for consciousness to persist beyond physical death.
We'll have to explore those ideas a bit later in our deep dive.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so we've got Tesla's groundbreaking work, ancient alchemy, this concept of non-destructive charge implosion, and now the idea that our souls are expressed through our electromagnetic fields. This truly is a deep dive into some mind-blowing concepts. Where do we head next in our exploration?
I think it's time to kind of delve into the potential dangers that both Winter and Widener highlight. Because while these forces hold incredible promise, they also require that careful consideration and respect.
All right, let's unpack those potential dangers and see how they connect to the bigger picture of what we've been discussing. I'm ready to dive deeper.
So as we kind of delve into those potential dangers surrounding these powerful forces, it's important to remember that knowledge itself isn't inherently good or bad.
Yeah.
It's how we use our intentions and our understanding of the potential consequences that really matter.
That's a really good point. It kind of reminds me of that saying, fire can warm you or burn you. It just depends on how you handle it. So what are some of the specific dangers that Winter and Widener highlight?
One of the most significant concerns is the potential misuse of certain frequencies, particularly those that might disrupt the human electromagnetic field.
Okay.
Winter argues that technologies like Wi-Fi and Bluetooth could potentially have negative effects on our health and even hinder soul development.
So our constant exposure to these wireless signals could actually be detrimental to our well-being, not just physically, but on like a deeper energetic level.
That's Winter's contention. Yeah, he believes that these artificial frequencies can kind of interfere with the natural coherence of our electromagnetic field and potentially cause imbalances and disruptions.
It's interesting to consider how our modern reliance on technology might be impacting us in ways we don't fully understand. It's like we've created this invisible web of frequencies that surrounds us, and we're only just beginning to grasp the potential consequences.
Exactly. And it's not just about the technologies themselves, but also how we use them.
Yeah.
For example, spending hours staring at a screen can disrupt our sleep patterns, create mental and emotional stress, which can also affect our electromagnetic field.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that we need to be more mindful of our relationship with technology, finding a balance that supports our well-being rather than like detracting from it. So aside from the potential dangers of technology, are there other concerns that Widener brings up, particularly in relation to like esoteric traditions and alchemy?
Yeah, Widener cautions against approaching those traditions with a desire for power or control.
Okay.
He believes that the true purpose of those practices is to facilitate spiritual growth and a deeper connection to the divine.
So it's not about using these powerful forces for personal gain or manipulation, but rather for like aligning ourselves with a greater purpose.
Precisely. Widener emphasizes the importance of discerning between genuine spiritual teachings and those that might lead individuals astray.
Hmm.
He suggests paying attention to the fruits of a particular tradition. So does it cultivate compassion, wisdom, a sense of interconnectedness, or does it foster egotism, greed, a thirst for power?
It's like judging a tree by its fruit, as they say. If the fruit is rotten, it's probably not a tree you want to be climbing.
Yeah.
But how can we tell the difference between a genuine spiritual path and one that might be harmful?
Well, Widener highlights the importance of finding teachers and mentors who embody the qualities that you aspire to cultivate.
Right.
So, look for those who radiate authenticity, integrity,
Right.
and a genuine desire to help others on their spiritual journey.
It's about finding guides who are walking the path themselves, not just talking about it. But let's shift gears back to Dan Winter for a moment. Earlier, you mentioned his research on lucid dreaming and the potential for consciousness to persist beyond physical death. Can you elaborate on that?
Sure. Winter believes that same coherence of our electromagnetic field that allows us to consciously navigate the dream world might also be essential for the soul's journey after death.
Okay.
He's identified specific frequencies that seem to trigger those lucid dreaming states. And he suggests that those frequencies might also play a role in the soul's ability to retain memories and awareness after physical death.
So it's like our ability to lucid dream is a reflection of our soul's strength and coherence, and that same strength might help us navigate the transition to the afterlife.
That's Winter's theory.
Mm.
Yeah. He sees lucid dreaming as a training ground for the soul, a way to become more aware of our consciousness and its potential beyond the physical realm.
That's a fascinating idea, and it makes you wonder about the potential implications for how we approach death and the afterlife. If we can cultivate this coherence in our electromagnetic field, could it actually make that transition smoother and more conscious?
It's certainly a possibility worth considering, and it brings us back to the idea of dying successfully, which we touched on earlier.
Right. You mentioned that ancient mystery schools explored this concept. What exactly does dying successfully entail, and how does it relate to what we've been discussing?
So in those traditions, death wasn't simply seen as an end, but as a transition to another state of being. And how we approach that transition, both energetically and consciously, was believed to profoundly impact what came next.
So it's not just about dying peacefully, but about dying in a way that honors the soul's journey and sets us up for a positive experience in the afterlife.
Exactly. And Widener suggests that a key element of this preparation involves cultivating a coherent electromagnetic field.
Okay.
The idea is that a strong, coherent field allows the soul to detach from the physical body more easily and potentially retain consciousness as it moves into other realms.
So the same coherence that's important for lucid dreaming and overall well-being might also be crucial for navigating the transition to the afterlife. It's like we're weaving together these seemingly disparate threads, ancient wisdom, cutting-edge science, and the mysteries of consciousness.
And it all points to the idea that we're more than just physical beings. We're energetic beings interconnected with this vast web of frequencies and forces that extend far beyond our physical bodies.
I mean, this is all incredibly thought-provoking, but I have to admit it's also a bit overwhelming. If we're surrounded by potentially harmful frequencies, and if the way we die can impact our soul's journey, where do we even begin to apply these insights in a practical way?
That's a great question, and one that we'll explore further in the final part of our deep dive. We'll delve into some practical tips for enhancing consciousness, navigating the potential pitfalls of those esoteric traditions, and aligning ourselves with the Earth's healing frequencies.
Okay, so we've covered so much ground already, from Tesla's groundbreaking work to the mysteries of alchemy and the potential for consciousness to exist beyond our physical bodies. It's a lot to process, but I'm curious, what can we actually do with all this information? How can we apply these insights to live more fulfilling and more conscious lives?
That's the key question, right? It's one thing to kind of explore these fascinating concepts, but how do we actually integrate them into our daily experience? The good news is there's a lot of practical steps that we can take.
Okay, I'm all ears. Where do we even begin?
Well, we've talked a lot about the potential dangers of certain frequencies and the importance of aligning ourselves with, more beneficial ones. And one of the simplest and most effective ways to do that is through grounding or earthing.
Yeah, we touched on this a little bit earlier. So basically we're talking about getting barefoot, connecting directly with the earth, right?
Exactly. And it's not just, some new age fad. There's actually a growing body of research that's suggesting that grounding can have significant benefits for both our physical and our mental well-being.
Like what? I'm curious about the science behind it.
So the Earth's surface actually has this negative electrical potential, meaning that it's abundant in electrons, And when we make direct contact with the ground, those electrons flow into our bodies, and they actually act as antioxidants and help to neutralize free radicals.
So it's like giving our bodies an electrical tune-up, bringing us back into balance.
You could say that, yeah, research suggests that grounding can help to reduce inflammation, improve sleep, and even stabilize our heart rate variability.
Wow, all that from just taking off our shoes and walking on the grass. I'm starting to see why this is such an important practice.
hmm And it's not just about the physical benefits. Grounding can also help us to feel more centered, more calm, and more connected to the natural world. It's this really simple yet powerful way to shift our energy and enhance our overall sense of well-being.
I'm definitely feeling inspired to get my bare feet on the ground more often. Are there other practical ways that we can tap into those beneficial frequencies?
Absolutely. Spending time in nature is essential. Surrounding ourselves with trees and plants and natural landscapes has a profound, calming and revitalizing effect.
Yeah, I think we all instinctively feel that sense of peace when we're immersed in nature, but what's going on beneath the surface?
Well, trees and plants, they emit phytoncides, which are these volatile organic compounds that have actually been shown to boost our immune systems and reduce stress hormones.
So it's not just about the beauty of nature, but also like the air we're breathing, the energy we're absorbing. It makes you realize how deeply interconnected we are with the natural world.
Exactly. And let's not forget about the power of sunlight. We've already talked about how important it is for regulating our circadian rhythms and enhancing attention span.
Right, get that vitamin D. But we were also talking about how sunlight might be essential for the coherence of our electromagnetic field and how that relates to Winter's ideas about the soul.
Precisely. Sunlight seems to play this really crucial role in supporting that energetic coherence, which is why spending time outdoors is so beneficial for our overall well-being. It's like sunlight is nourishing us on multiple levels, both physically and energetically.
So we've got grounding, immersing ourselves in nature, soaking up the sunshine. Those are all great practices. But are there other ways that we can intentionally work with beneficial frequencies?
Yeah, this is actually where technology can play a supportive role. Dan Winter has developed these devices that emit specific frequencies that have been shown to enhance consciousness and promote well-being.
So we're not talking about rejecting technology altogether, but rather using it intentionally to support our growth and evolution.
Exactly. Just as there are frequencies that can disrupt our electromagnetic field, there are also those that can harmonize and strengthen it. It's about being mindful of the technologies we choose and how we use them.
This whole conversation has been incredibly enlightening. We've explored some pretty complex and some pretty mind-bending concepts, but ultimately, it seems like the message is a pretty simple one, that we are energetic beings deeply connected to the earth and to each other. And by aligning ourselves with those natural rhythms and those frequencies of the universe, we can tap into this profound source of healing, wisdom, and expanded consciousness.
I couldn't have said it better myself. It's about remembering that we're not separate from nature, but an integral part of this vast and interconnected web of life.
Well said. And as we wrap up our deep dive, I'm left with this sense of awe and wonder at the mysteries we've explored and a renewed appreciation for the power of conscious living. What a journey.
It has been a fascinating exploration, and I hope our listeners are inspired to kind of continue their own deep dives into these intriguing topics.
Absolutely. And if there's one thing we hope you take away from this conversation, it's that we have more agency than we realize when it comes to shaping our reality, both individually and collectively. By making conscious choices about the technologies we use, the environments we inhabit, and the practices we engage in, we can actively cultivate greater coherence, well-being, and expand awareness. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep into the mysteries of existence.